Most people never change their lives because they are waiting for a moment that does not exist. They are waiting for the perfect opportunity, the perfect plan, the perfect amount of motivation, the perfect Monday, the perfect month, the perfect year, and while they wait, life keeps moving, days become weeks, weeks become months, months become years, and nothing changes. Why? Because they have been taught one of the most dangerous lies in self-improvement, that transformation must be dramatic, that success arrives through giant leaps, that one massive decision will suddenly solve everything. But if that were true, most people would already have the life they want. Think about it. How many times have people promised themselves they would completely change starting tomorrow? They would wake up at 5 a.m., exercise every day, read 50 books, meditate for an hour, work harder than ever before, eat perfectly, and become a completely different person overnight. Maybe you have done it too, and maybe it lasted for a few days, maybe a week, then reality arrived, motivation faded, energy dropped, life became busy, and the old habits returned, not because you are weak, not because you are lazy, but because human beings are not designed for massive sudden change, they are designed for gradual adaptation. That is the first lesson. Big goals are exciting, small habits are effective. Big goals create emotion, small habits create results. And results are what change lives. This idea sits at the heart of Japanese culture. For generations, Japanese thinkers, craftsmen, athletes, and business leaders have understood something that many people ignore: small actions repeated consistently are more powerful than giant actions performed occasionally. Read that again. Small actions repeated consistently are more powerful than giant actions performed occasionally. That is the key. A person who studies a language for 10 minutes every day will often outperform the person who studies for 5 hours once a month. Most people think life changes when something big happens. A new job. A new city. A new opportunity. They're wrong. The biggest transformations in human history have come from small actions repeated consistently over time. Japan has mastered this principle. Not through motivation. Not through talent. Not through luck. But through tiny daily habits that quietly shape character, discipline, focus, peace, and success. In this audiobook, you will discover 7 small Japanese habits that can completely transform the way you think, work, live, and grow. Because your future is not built by what you do occasionally. It is built by what you do every single day. Let's begin. A person who saves a small amount of money every week will often outperform the person who waits for the perfect financial breakthrough. A person who walks for 20 minutes every day will often become healthier than the person who exercises intensely for 1 week and then quits. The power is not in the size of the action, the power is in the repetition, the power is in the consistency, the power is in the daily commitment. This is difficult for many people to accept because the human mind loves dramatic stories. We love overnight success. We love sudden transformations. We love miracle solutions. But reality operates differently. Reality rewards repetition. Reality rewards patience. Reality rewards persistence. Imagine a single drop of water. One drop seems insignificant, harmless, weak, meaningless. But allow that drop to fall in the same place every day for years. Eventually, it can carve through stone, not because the drop is powerful, because it is consistent. You are that drop, your habits are that drop, your future is the stone. Every action you repeat is shaping your life whether you realize it or not. The problem is that most people underestimate the power of tiny actions. They dismiss small efforts because the results are invisible at first. They want immediate evidence, immediate rewards, immediate success, but growth rarely works that way. For a long time, nothing seems to happen. You read a few pages, nothing changes. you exercise for a few days. Nothing changes, you save a little money. Nothing changes, you practice a new skill. Nothing changes. At least that is what it looks like, but beneath the surface, everything is changing. Your mind is changing, your identity is changing, your standards are changing, your habits are changing, and eventually, those invisible changes become visible results. The Japanese understand this deeply. They do not obsess over speed, they focus on progress. They do not chase shortcuts, they build systems. They do not ask, how can I change my life today? They ask, what small action can I repeat every day? That question changes everything, because when the action is small, resistance becomes small. When resistance becomes small, consistency becomes possible, and consistency creates transformation. Think about a mountain, standing at the bottom. The peak looks impossible, overwhelming, intimidating. Many people quit before they even begin because they focus entirely on the summit. But successful people focus on the next step, then another step, then another. Eventually, what seemed impossible becomes inevitable, not because they moved faster, because they kept moving. That is the lesson. You do not need to transform your entire life today. You do not need to become a completely different person by next week. You do not need a dramatic breakthrough. You need a small action. A simple action. An action you can repeat tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. Remember this phrase, small steps. Every day, say it again, small steps. Every day, that is how confidence grows. That is how discipline grows. That is how success grows. Small steps, every day. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a week, but they underestimate what they can accomplish in 5 years. 5 years of reading. 5 years of learning. 5 years of improving. 5 years of consistency. The results can be extraordinary. But it all begins with a single decision, the decision to stop chasing massive changes. The decision to stop waiting for motivation, the decision to stop looking for shortcuts, and the decision to trust the process of gradual improvement, because the truth is simple. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you rise to the level of your habits, and your habits begin with actions so small that they seem almost insignificant. But never underestimate the power of a small action repeated thousands of times. A small habit can change a day. A day can change a month. A month can change a year. A year can change a life. That is how transformation really happens, quietly, slowly, consistently. One small step at a time. And starting today, that is exactly how you will move forward. Small steps. Every day. Because slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. And that is how lasting change is built. Most people are not trapped because they lack talent. They are not trapped because they lack intelligence. They are not trapped because they lack opportunity. They are trapped because they stop improving. The moment growth stops, progress stops. The moment progress stops, life becomes repetitive. And when life becomes repetitive, frustration begins. Many people spend years wondering why their circumstances never change. They want better health, better finances, better relationships, better careers. But they keep repeating the same actions, the same habits, the same routines. And then they expect different results. That is impossible. A different future requires a different version of you. And a different version of you is created through continuous improvement. This is where one of Japan's most powerful philosophies enters the picture. A philosophy that transformed businesses, industries, and millions of lives. Its name is Kaizen. Kaizen is a Japanese word that means continuous improvement. Not massive improvement. Not overnight improvement. Continuous improvement. Small improvements. Daily improvements. Consistent improvements. That is the key. The philosophy is simple. Get a little better every day. Just a little. Just 1%. One small improvement. One small adjustment. One small step forward. Most people reject this idea because it sounds too simple. But simplicity is often where the greatest power hides. Imagine improving by only 1% every day. 1% seems insignificant. Almost invisible. Many people would ignore it. Many people would say it is not enough. But they fail to understand the power of compounding. A 1% improvement repeated every day creates extraordinary change over time. The gains begin to multiply. The results begin to accelerate. What once seemed impossible starts becoming reality. This is exactly how great organizations become great. They do not rely on dramatic breakthroughs every week. They focus on constant refinement, constant learning, constant adjustment. After the Second World War, many Japanese companies embraced the philosophy of Kaizen. They asked a simple question every day. What can we improve today? Not next year. Not someday. Today. That question transformed industries. Small improvements in manufacturing. Small improvements in efficiency. Small improvements in quality. Day after day. Month after month. Year after year. Eventually those tiny improvements produced world-class results. The lesson applies far beyond business. It applies directly to your life. Imagine you want to become healthier. Most people try to change everything at once. They create strict diets. Extreme workout plans. Complicated routines. And within a few weeks, they quit. Why? Because the change was too large. The system was too difficult. The pressure was too high. Kaizen takes a different approach. Instead of exercising for 2 hours, start with 10 minutes. Instead of changing every meal, improve one meal. Instead of running 5 miles, walk around the block. Small improvement. Repeated daily. That is Kaizen. Imagine you want to become more knowledgeable. Do not promise to read 50 books immediately. Read 5 pages. 5 pages today. 5 pages tomorrow. 5 pages the next day. 1% better. Every day. Imagine you want to improve your finances. You do not need to become wealthy overnight. You need to spend slightly smarter. Save slightly more. Learn slightly more. Improve one financial habit at a time. 1% better. Every day. Notice the pattern. Kaizen removes overwhelm. It removes excuses. It removes the pressure that causes people to quit. Because anyone can improve by 1%. Anyone. No matter how busy they are. No matter how tired they are. No matter where they start. That is why Kaizen works. It is practical. It is sustainable. It is realistic. And most importantly, it is repeatable. Remember this. Success is rarely the result of one giant decision. Success is usually the result of thousands of small decisions. A healthier person is not created by one healthy meal. A stronger person is not created by one workout. A successful entrepreneur is not created by one productive day. Everything valuable is built through repetition. Everything valuable is built through consistency. Everything valuable is built through Kaizen. There is another hidden benefit to this philosophy. Small improvements create small victories. And small victories create confidence. Confidence is not something you magically feel. Confidence is something you earn. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, confidence grows. Every time you complete a small improvement, confidence grows. Every time you follow through, confidence grows. The problem is that many people try to earn confidence through huge achievements. But confidence is built through daily proof. Daily evidence. Daily action. That is why Kaizen is so powerful. It allows you to win every day. The wins may be small. But they are real. And real wins build momentum. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in life. A train standing still requires enormous energy to move. But once it starts rolling, movement becomes easier. Human behavior works the same way. Starting is difficult. Continuing becomes easier. Kaizen helps you start. It helps you build momentum. And momentum helps you keep going. This is why successful people often appear disciplined. What you are really seeing is momentum. Years of small improvements. Years of daily action. Years of 1% better. The outside world sees the result. They rarely see the process. But the process is where everything happens. That is the key. The process. The daily improvement. The tiny adjustment. The 1% gain. That is where transformation lives. Not in motivation. Not in inspiration. Not in waiting. In action. Consistent action. Daily action. Kaizen action. So ask yourself a simple question. What can you improve today? Not next month. Not next year. Today. Can you read one extra page? Can you walk for 10 minutes? Can you save a small amount of money? Can you spend less time scrolling? Can you learn one new skill? Can you improve one conversation? Can you become 1% better? Because that is all Kaizen asks of you. Not perfection. Not greatness. Just progress. Just improvement. Just 1%. And if you continue doing that day after day, month after month, year after year, something remarkable happens. You stop becoming the person you used to be, you become stronger. Smarter. Calmer. More disciplined. More capable. Not through one giant leap, but through thousands of tiny steps. That is the power of Kaizen. That is the power of continuous improvement. And that is why the choice is simple. Master Kaizen. Or stay stuck. 1% better. Every day. 1% better. Every day. 1% better. Every day. Because small improvements, repeated long enough, create extraordinary lives. Most people underestimate the power of small actions. They think success comes from major decisions. Big opportunities. Life-changing moments. But success is often built long before those moments arrive. It is built in private. It is built in routine. It is built in the small actions nobody sees. And one of the smallest actions you can perform each day is also one of the most powerful. Making your bed. At first, it sounds almost ridiculous. How could something so simple matter? How could straightening blankets and arranging pillows have any meaningful impact on your life? That question reveals exactly why most people overlook it. Because they judge actions by how impressive they look. Not by how powerful they become when repeated daily. The Japanese understand something many people miss. The quality of your environment influences the quality of your mind. The condition of your surroundings often reflects the condition of your thinking. Chaos outside creates chaos inside. Order outside creates order inside. That is the key. When you wake up in the morning, you face a choice. You can begin the day with disorder. Or you can begin the day with intention. Making your bed is not really about the bed. It is about the message. The message you send to yourself. The message says, I am awake. I am responsible. I am in control. I finish what I start. Those messages matter. Because your identity is shaped by repeated actions. Every habit is a vote for the person you are becoming. When you repeatedly ignore small responsibilities, you train yourself to tolerate disorder. When you repeatedly complete small responsibilities, you train yourself to expect discipline. The action is small. The lesson is enormous. Think about the first few minutes after waking up. For many people, the day begins with distraction. They grab their phones. They check notifications. They scroll endlessly. Before they have even started their day, they have surrendered their attention. Their mind becomes reactive. Their focus becomes scattered. Their energy becomes fragmented. The day begins in chaos. But imagine a different beginning. You wake up. You stand up. You straighten the sheets. You arrange the pillows. You take less than 2 minutes to create order. Now something changes. You have completed a task. You have created structure. You have established momentum. And momentum is powerful. One completed action naturally leads to another. A made bed encourages a tidy room. A tidy room encourages focused work. Focused work encourages productive days. Productive days create successful lives. It all begins somewhere. Why not begin with the first task of the day? Many Japanese schools teach children something remarkable. Students often clean their own classrooms. They sweep floors, organize spaces, maintain order. Not because the school cannot hire cleaners, but because the habit teaches responsibility. It teaches ownership. It teaches respect. The lesson is not about cleaning. The lesson is about character. When people care for their environment, they learn to care for themselves. When they take responsibility for small things, they become capable of handling larger things. That is the hidden power of simple routines. They shape who you become. Most people want confidence, but they search for it in all the wrong places. They think confidence arrives after success, after praise, after achievement. But confidence often begins much earlier. Confidence begins when you keep promises to yourself. Even tiny promises. Especially tiny promises. If you promise yourself that you will make your bed every morning and then you do it, something important happens. You build trust. You begin proving to yourself that your words matter. That your commitments matter. That you matter. One small promise. One small victory. Repeated daily. Over time, those victories accumulate. And confidence grows. Not because somebody praised you. Because you earned it. That is the key. Confidence is earned, not given. Every completed action strengthens self-respect. Every completed action strengthens discipline. Every completed action strengthens identity. This is why successful people often seem different. They are not necessarily smarter. They are not necessarily more talented. They simply respect small disciplines. They understand that greatness is rarely dramatic. Greatness is usually ordinary actions performed consistently. The world celebrates the finished building. Nobody celebrates the first brick. But without the first brick, the building never exists. Making your bed is a brick. Cleaning your desk is a brick. Showing up on time is a brick. Reading 10 pages is a brick. Saving a small amount of money is a brick. Individually, they seem insignificant. Together, they build extraordinary lives. Remember this. How you do small things is often how you do everything. If you ignore the small responsibilities, you will eventually struggle with larger ones. If you respect the small responsibilities, you prepare yourself for larger opportunities. Life is always watching. Opportunities are always watching. And discipline is always being developed. One action at a time. One habit at a time. One day at a time. So tomorrow morning, do something simple. Before checking your phone. Before opening social media. Before letting the world invade your attention. Make your bed. Take ownership of the first moments of your day. Create order. Create structure. Create momentum. And remind yourself of this truth. You are not making a bed. You are shaping a mind. You are building discipline. You are strengthening character. You are becoming the kind of person who finishes what they start. Because success is not built in grand moments. It is built in ordinary moments. The moments most people ignore. The moments most people underestimate. The moments that quietly shape your future. Win the first battle. Win the morning. And little by little, you will begin winning much more than that. Remember the phrase. Win the first battle. Win the first battle. Win the first battle. Because the way you begin your day often determines the way you live your life. And transformation begins with the smallest act of order. Make your bed. Shape your mind. Shape your future. Look around you right now. What do you see? A clean desk? An organized room? A peaceful environment? Or do you see clutter? Piles of unfinished tasks. Objects you no longer use. Papers you keep meaning to organize. Things you keep meaning to throw away. Most people believe clutter is merely a physical problem. It isn't. Clutter is often a mental problem disguised as a physical one. That is the truth. The state of your environment affects the state of your mind. A cluttered room creates a cluttered mind. A cluttered desk creates a cluttered focus. A cluttered life creates a cluttered future. And that is why one of the most powerful Japanese habits is the habit of creating order. Not occasionally. Not once a year. Daily. Consistently. Intentionally. The Japanese have long understood that the spaces we occupy influence the people we become. Walk into a clean, organized environment and notice how you feel. Calm. Focused. Comfortable. In control. Now walk into a room filled with disorder. Clothes scattered everywhere. Trash left unattended. Objects piled on every surface. Immediately, your energy changes. Your mind becomes heavier. Your focus becomes weaker. Your stress quietly increases. You may not notice it consciously. But your brain notices. Every object in your environment demands attention. Every unfinished item consumes mental energy. Every piece of clutter whispers the same message. Deal with me. Organize me. Don't forget me. And those whispers never stop. The result is mental fatigue. Many people think they are tired because they work too hard. Sometimes they are tired because their environment never allows their mind to rest. That is the hidden cost of clutter. It steals energy. It steals attention. It steals peace. That is why cleaning is not merely a household task. It is a form of self-respect. It is a declaration that your environment matters. And because your environment matters, your mind matters. That is the key. The Japanese teach this lesson early. In many schools, students clean their own classrooms. They sweep floors. Wipe desks. Organize supplies. Take responsibility for their surroundings. This practice is not about saving money. It is about building character. The lesson is simple. Do not expect others to clean up your life. Take responsibility. Create order. Maintain order. Respect your environment. When people develop this habit, something powerful happens. They stop seeing cleaning as punishment. They begin seeing it as ownership. And ownership changes everything. When you own your space, you begin owning your decisions. When you own your decisions, you begin owning your future. Everything is connected. Most people wait until their lives feel completely overwhelming before they begin organizing. That is a mistake. Because disorder grows quietly. One item becomes 5. 5 becomes 20. 20 becomes a room. A room becomes a lifestyle. And before long, chaos feels normal. But chaos should never become normal. Because you deserve clarity. You deserve peace. You deserve an environment that supports your goals instead of distracting from them. Remember this. Your environment is either helping you succeed or helping you fail. It is never neutral. Look at the most productive people. The most disciplined people. The most focused people. Many of them intentionally design their environments. They remove distractions. They create systems. They reduce unnecessary clutter. They understand that success is easier when your surroundings support your intentions. Imagine trying to focus on important work while surrounded by disorder. Your brain is constantly processing visual noise. Your attention is being pulled in multiple directions. Your energy is leaking away. Now imagine the opposite. A clean desk. A clean room. Only the tools you need. Everything in its place. Suddenly focus becomes easier. Clarity becomes easier. Progress becomes easier. The external environment influences the internal environment. That is why this habit matters. And the beauty of it is its simplicity. You do not need to clean your entire life today. You only need to begin. One drawer. One shelf. One desk. One corner. One item. That is all. Remember the lesson from Kaizen. Small improvements. Daily improvements. Consistent improvements. The goal is not perfection. The goal is progress. Remove one unnecessary object. Organize one small area. Create one small victory. Then repeat. Day after day. Little by little. The transformation begins. Many people hold on to things they no longer need. Old clothes. Broken items. Expired goals. Unfinished projects. Even old identities. Sometimes clutter is not physical. Sometimes clutter is emotional. Sometimes the thing you need to release is not an object. It is a belief. A regret. A fear. A story you keep telling yourself. The habit of cleaning teaches a deeper lesson. It teaches you to let go. To release what no longer serves you. To make room for something better. Because nothing new can enter a life that is already overcrowded. Space must be created. Growth requires space. Peace requires space. Focus requires space. Success requires space. And space is created through intentional removal. That is why cleaning is not about getting rid of things. It is about making room for what matters. Making room for your goals. Making room for your focus. Making room for your future. Every item in your environment should earn its place. Every object should serve a purpose. Every space should support your life. If it doesn't, ask yourself a simple question. Why am I keeping it? That question alone can change everything. Because clarity often begins with elimination. The less unnecessary noise you tolerate, the more clearly you can think. The more clearly you think, the better decisions you make. The better decisions you make, the better your life becomes. It starts with something simple. A cleaner room. A cleaner desk. A cleaner environment. And eventually, a cleaner mind. Remember this phrase. Clear space. Clear mind. Say it again. Clear space. Clear mind. One more time. Clear space. Clear mind. Because the environment around you is shaping the person within you. Every day. Every hour. Every moment. So take responsibility. Take ownership. Create order. Protect that order. And watch what happens. Your stress begins to decrease. Your focus begins to increase. Your energy begins to return. Your confidence begins to grow. Not because your room changed. Because you changed. Because every act of cleaning is really an act of self-respect. Every act of organization is really an act of discipline. Every act of order is really an act of leadership. Leadership of yourself. Leadership of your environment. Leadership of your future. Clean your space. Clean your life. And create a place where success can finally grow. Clear space. Clear mind. Every person on earth receives the same gift each morning. 24 hours. Not 25. Not 30. 24. The billionaire gets 24. The athlete gets 24. The artist gets 24. The entrepreneur gets 24. And you get 24. Time is the most equal resource in existence. Yet it creates the most unequal results. Why? Because some people respect time. And others waste it. That is the difference. That is the key. Most people think success is built with money. It isn't. Money can be lost and earned again. Time cannot. Once a minute passes, it is gone forever. Once an hour disappears, it never returns. Once a day ends, it becomes history. Time is life. And when you waste time, you are not merely wasting minutes. You are wasting pieces of your life. The Japanese understand this deeply. One of the most admired characteristics of Japanese culture is punctuality. Trains arrive on time. Meetings start on time. Appointments are honored. Commitments are respected. Why? Because being on time is not just about schedules. It is about respect. Respect for other people. Respect for commitments. And most importantly, respect for life itself. Every time you arrive late, you are sending a message. The message says, "My time matters more than yours." Whether you intend to communicate that or not, that is the message. That is why punctuality is a form of character. It reveals how seriously you take responsibility. It reveals how seriously you take your word. And your word matters. If you say you will be somewhere at a certain time, be there. If you say you will complete something by a certain deadline, do it. If you make a promise, honor it. Because every time you break your word, you weaken trust. Trust from others. And trust in yourself. Most people do not lose their future through one catastrophic mistake. They lose it minute by minute. Hour by hour. Day by day. Through small acts of neglect. One wasted morning. One distracted afternoon. One unproductive evening. Repeated thousands of times. That is how dreams disappear. Not dramatically. Gradually. Think about the power of 10 minutes. Most people dismiss 10 minutes. They say, "It's only 10 minutes." But 10 minutes every day becomes more than 60 hours every year. 60 hours. That is enough time to read books. Learn skills. Exercise. Build knowledge. Improve relationships. Create opportunities. 10 minutes matters. Every minute matters. That is why successful people think differently about time. They understand that small moments create big outcomes. While others are looking for huge opportunities, successful people are protecting small moments. Because they know those moments compound. Just like money compounds. Just like habits compound. Time compounds. A wasted day may not seem important. But repeated over years, it becomes a wasted life. A productive day may not seem extraordinary. But repeated over years, it creates extraordinary results. That is the power of compounding. The Japanese concept of respecting time goes beyond punctuality. It extends into how you spend your day. How you focus. How you prioritize. How you choose what deserves your attention. Many people act as though they have unlimited time. They postpone important goals. Delay meaningful conversations. Ignore opportunities. Avoid difficult decisions. Always believing there will be another chance. Another day. Another year. But life offers no guarantees. Tomorrow is a possibility. Not a promise. That truth should not create fear. It should create urgency. Healthy urgency. The urgency to use today wisely. The urgency to stop postponing growth. The urgency to begin now. Because the future is being built right now. At this very moment. Through the choices you are making. Through the actions you are taking. Through the way you spend your time. Every hour is an investment. The question is, what are you investing in? Distraction? Excuses? Entertainment without limits? Or growth? Learning? Discipline? Progress? Your future reflects your answer. Imagine two people. Both start with the same 24 hours. One spends most of the day reacting, scrolling, complaining, waiting, avoiding. The other spends part of the day learning, improving, building, creating. At first, the difference appears small. After a week, almost invisible. After a month, still difficult to notice. But after 5 years, the gap becomes enormous. Not because one person received more opportunities. Because one person respected time, and the other did not. That is how success is built. Hour by hour. Day by day. Choice by choice. Most people underestimate the cost of being late. Not just late to meetings. Late to life. Late to goals. Late to opportunities. Late to action. Every delay has a cost. Every postponement has a price. And eventually, those prices become impossible to ignore. The solution is simple. Not easy, but simple. Respect time. Treat every hour as valuable. Treat every commitment as important. Treat every day as meaningful. Start arriving early. Not because you have to. Because it changes who you become. When you arrive early, you are calm. Prepared. Focused. In control. When you arrive late, you are rushed. Stressed. Reactive. Distracted. One habit creates confidence. The other creates chaos. Choose carefully. Remember this phrase. Respect time. Respect time. Respect time. Because every successful life is built on that foundation. The disciplined person respects time. The focused person respects time. The reliable person respects time. The successful person respects time. And if you want a different future, you must begin respecting time today. Not tomorrow. Today. Protect your mornings. Protect your attention. Protect your priorities. Protect your hours. Because those hours are becoming your future. Right now. At this very moment. You are either investing in the life you want, or drifting away from it. The choice is yours. Every day. Every hour. Every minute. Remember. Money lost can be recovered. Opportunities lost can sometimes return. But time lost is gone forever. So stop treating time casually. Stop spending it carelessly. Stop assuming there will always be more. Because your future is being built minute by minute. And those minutes matter. Respect time. Or lose your future. The modern world has made concentration rare. Everywhere you look, something is competing for your attention. Notifications. Messages. Emails. Videos. Advertisements. News. Social media. The average person is pulled in dozens of directions every single hour. And because this constant distraction has become normal, most people no longer realize what it is costing them. But the cost is enormous. The cost is focus. The cost is productivity. The cost is creativity. The cost is peace of mind. Most importantly, the cost is your future. Because your future is built by what you give your attention to. That is the key. Where attention goes, life follows. Think about it. Anything that has ever become valuable in your life required attention. Every skill. Every relationship. Every achievement. Every success. Attention is the fuel of growth. Without attention, nothing develops. Without attention, nothing improves. Without attention, nothing reaches its potential. Yet most people spend their lives scattering their attention everywhere. They start one task. Then check their phone. Then open another tab. Then respond to a message. Then scroll through social media. Then return to work. Then get distracted again. By the end of the day, they feel exhausted. But they have accomplished very little. Why? Because attention was fragmented. Energy was fragmented. Focus was fragmented. And fragmented effort produces fragmented results. The Japanese have long understood the power of complete presence. In Japanese craftsmanship, there is a deep respect for mastery. Whether it is a chef preparing sushi, a carpenter shaping wood, or an artist creating a masterpiece, there is a common principle. Full attention. Complete concentration. Total presence. The craftsman is not thinking about 10 different things. The craftsman is focused on one thing. And because of that focus, excellence emerges. Mastery emerges. Quality emerges. That lesson applies to every area of life. Most people want better results. But they do not improve their attention. They try to work harder. Longer. Faster. But the problem is not effort. The problem is focus. 1 hour of concentrated work often produces more results than 4 hours of distracted work. Read that again. 1 hour of concentrated work often produces more results than 4 hours of distracted work. That is the power of full attention. Imagine sunlight. Spread across a field, it provides warmth. But concentrate that same sunlight through a magnifying glass, and it can start a fire. The energy did not change. The focus changed. Human attention works the same way. When your attention is scattered, your results are weak. When your attention is concentrated, your results become powerful. That is why successful people protect their focus. They understand that attention is one of the most valuable resources they possess. And they refuse to waste it. Most people guard their money more carefully than their attention. But attention is often more valuable than money. Because attention creates money. Attention creates skills. Attention creates opportunities. Attention creates success. Every great accomplishment begins with focused attention. Think about the world's greatest musicians. Athletes. Scientists. Writers. Entrepreneurs. None of them became exceptional through distraction. They became exceptional through concentration. Through thousands of hours spent focusing deeply on one thing at a time. The world sees the result. Few people see the focus that created it. That is why this habit matters so much. If you learn to focus, you gain an advantage that becomes increasingly rare. Because while everyone else is distracted, you are progressing. While everyone else is reacting, you are creating. While everyone else is consuming, you are building. And over time, that difference becomes enormous. Many people believe multitasking is a strength. It is not. In most cases, multitasking is simply rapid task switching. Your brain jumps from one activity to another. Each switch consumes energy. Each switch reduces efficiency. Each switch weakens concentration. Eventually, your mind becomes exhausted. Not because you worked too hard. Because you focused too little. The solution is surprisingly simple. Do one thing. One thing at a time. Not 5 things. Not 3 things. One thing. Fully. Completely. Without interruption. Without distraction. Without excuses. Just one thing. Imagine what would happen if you gave your full attention to reading. Your full attention to learning. Your full attention to exercise. Your full attention to work. Your full attention to the people you care about. Everything would improve. Because attention improves quality. Attention improves understanding. Attention improves performance. Attention improves relationships. Everything grows where attention flows. That is the law. And it applies everywhere. A distracted conversation creates weak relationships. A focused conversation creates connection. A distracted workout creates average results. A focused workout creates progress. A distracted work session creates frustration. A focused work session creates achievement. The difference is attention. Always attention. The challenge is that focus feels difficult at first. Especially in a world designed to distract you. Your phone wants your attention. Social media wants your attention. Advertising wants your attention. Everyone wants your attention. Because attention is valuable. If companies can capture your attention, they can influence your behavior. That is why you must learn to protect it. Guard it. Defend it. Treat it like a precious resource. Because it is. Start small. Set aside 20 minutes. Choose one task. Turn off notifications. Close unnecessary tabs. Put away distractions. And focus. Only focus. You may be surprised by how difficult it feels. That is okay. Focus is a skill. And like every skill, it becomes stronger with practice. Each day you train your attention, it grows. Each day you resist distraction, you become stronger. Each day you concentrate fully, you gain control over your mind. And control over your mind creates control over your life. That is why focus is not merely a productivity tool. It is a life skill. A success skill. A leadership skill. A transformation skill. The ability to direct your attention intentionally is one of the greatest powers you can develop. Because attention determines action. Action determines habits. Habits determine identity. And identity determines destiny. Everything begins with attention. Remember this phrase. One thing. Fully. Say it again. One thing. Fully. One more time. One thing. Fully. Because the people who achieve extraordinary results are rarely doing extraordinary things. They are doing ordinary things with extraordinary focus. They are giving complete attention to what matters. And that is exactly what you must learn to do. Stop dividing your mind. Stop scattering your energy. Stop surrendering your attention. Choose what matters. Focus completely. Work deeply. Live intentionally. And watch what happens. Your productivity increases. Your confidence grows. Your stress decreases. Your results improve. Not because you became smarter. Not because you became more talented. Because you became more focused. And in a distracted world, focus is a superpower. Do one thing. With full attention. And let that habit transform everything else. Most people are at war with reality. They are at war with their mistakes. At war with their flaws. At war with their imperfections. They spend their lives trying to become perfect. Trying to create the perfect plan. The perfect body. The perfect career. The perfect relationship. The perfect life. And in the process, they become exhausted. Frustrated. Disappointed. Because perfection is a destination that does not exist. The closer you get to it, the farther it moves away. That is the trap. And millions of people spend years trapped inside it. Waiting. Delaying. Overthinking. Refusing to act until everything feels perfect. But perfection never arrives. That is why one of the most liberating Japanese concepts is Wabi-Sabi. Wabi-Sabi is the art of finding beauty in imperfection. Beauty in simplicity. Beauty in incompleteness. Beauty in things that are real rather than flawless. This philosophy teaches a truth that many people desperately need to hear. You do not need to be perfect to be valuable. You do not need to be flawless to be worthy. You do not need to have everything figured out before you begin. That is the key. Progress matters more than perfection. Read that again. Progress matters more than perfection. Most people know this intellectually. But very few people live it. Instead, they postpone action because conditions are not perfect. They delay starting a business because they are afraid of making mistakes. They delay writing because they fear criticism. They delay speaking because they fear judgment. They delay living because they fear imperfection. And while they wait for perfection, life keeps moving. Opportunities pass. Time disappears. Dreams remain unfinished. Not because they lacked potential. Because they demanded perfection before taking action. Wabi-Sabi teaches the opposite. It teaches that imperfections are not obstacles. They are part of the journey. Think about nature. A tree does not grow in perfect symmetry. A mountain is not perfectly shaped. A river does not flow in a perfectly straight line. Yet these things are beautiful. Not despite their imperfections. Because of them. Their uniqueness creates their beauty. Their irregularity creates their character. Their imperfections make them real. Human beings are no different. Your scars tell stories. Your mistakes teach lessons. Your failures build wisdom. Your imperfections shape your character. The very things you try to hide may be the things that make you valuable. That is the wisdom of Wabi-Sabi. The Japanese have long appreciated objects that show signs of age and use. An old wooden table. A weathered piece of pottery. A faded structure that has survived decades. These things are respected because they reveal a history. A journey. A story. Perfection often feels sterile. But authenticity feels alive. The same is true for people. People are not inspired by perfection. They are inspired by courage. The courage to continue despite flaws. The courage to keep learning despite mistakes. The courage to move forward despite uncertainty. That is what creates growth. And growth is always imperfect. Think about learning any new skill. The beginning is messy. The first attempt is awkward. The first effort is rarely impressive. Nobody becomes a master on day one. Nobody becomes confident on day one. Nobody becomes exceptional on day one. Mastery requires imperfection. Improvement requires mistakes. Success requires failure. There is no other path. Yet many people refuse to start because they are afraid of looking inexperienced. Afraid of making errors. Afraid of failing publicly. What they do not realize is that every expert was once a beginner. Every master was once clumsy. Every successful person was once uncertain. The difference is that they embraced imperfection long enough to improve. That is the lesson. Done beats perfect. Done beats perfect. Done beats perfect. The person who publishes imperfect work learns faster than the person who endlessly revises. The person who starts exercising imperfectly becomes healthier than the person waiting for the perfect plan. The person who takes imperfect action moves forward while others remain stuck. Action creates progress. Progress creates growth. Growth creates results. Perfection creates paralysis. Choose wisely. There is another danger hidden inside perfectionism. It often disguises itself as high standards. People say they are striving for excellence. But often they are avoiding discomfort. Avoiding criticism. Avoiding vulnerability. Avoiding failure. Perfectionism feels safe because it allows endless preparation. You can always improve the plan. You can always make one more adjustment. You can always wait for a better moment. But preparation without action is simply procrastination in disguise. Wabi-Sabi breaks this cycle. It reminds you that life itself is imperfect. Every season changes. Every person ages. Every situation evolves. Nothing remains flawless forever. And that is exactly what makes life meaningful. The temporary nature of things makes them precious. The imperfections make them human. The incompleteness makes growth possible. Imagine a cracked piece of pottery. Many people would see damage. The Japanese tradition of kintsugi sees something different. Instead of hiding the cracks, artisans repair them with gold. The cracks become part of the object's story. Part of its beauty. Part of its identity. What a powerful lesson. Your struggles do not disqualify you. Your mistakes do not define you. Your failures do not diminish your worth. They are part of your story. And sometimes the places where you broke become the places where you grow strongest. The places where you suffered become the places where you gain wisdom. The places where you failed become the places where you learn resilience. That is kintsugi. That is wabi-sabi. That is life. Stop hiding your imperfections. Stop fighting reality. Stop demanding perfection from yourself. You are a work in progress. And that is enough. Growth does not require perfection, growth requires participation. Growth requires patience. Growth requires action. Take the next step. Even if it is imperfect. Write the first page. Even if it is imperfect. Start the project. Even if it is imperfect. Begin the journey. Even if it is imperfect. Because perfection is not the goal. Transformation is the goal. And transformation always begins with imperfect action. Remember this phrase, done beats perfect. Say it again. Done beats perfect. One more time. Done beats perfect. Because every meaningful achievement in your life will begin before you feel ready. Before you feel confident. Before you feel perfect.
And that is exactly how it should be. Embrace wabi-sabi. Embrace progress. Embrace growth. Embrace the beauty of becoming. Your imperfections are not proof that you are failing. They are proof that you are human. And every step forward, no matter how imperfect, is a step toward the person you are capable of becoming. Done beats perfect. Always. Most people are rushing through life. Rushing to work. Rushing to finish. Rushing to achieve. Rushing to arrive. Always moving. Always chasing. Always looking ahead. Yet despite all the speed, many people feel lost. Disconnected. Exhausted. They move faster than ever before, but they understand less than ever before. That is the paradox of modern life. The faster you move, the more you miss. The faster you move, the less you notice. The faster you move, the further you drift from the present moment. And when you lose the present moment, you lose the only place where life actually exists. That is the key. Life is not happening tomorrow. Life is happening now. But most people are too busy rushing to notice it. The Japanese have long understood the value of slowing down. Not because they are lazy, not because they lack ambition, but because they understand something profound. Speed without awareness creates mistakes. Speed without awareness creates stress. Speed without awareness creates a life that feels empty, no matter how successful it appears from the outside. Many Japanese traditions emphasize mindfulness, tea ceremonies, Zen gardens, traditional craftsmanship, quiet walks through nature. Each practice teaches the same lesson. Be fully present. Pay attention. Notice what most people ignore, because wisdom lives in observation, and observation requires slowness. Think about the last time you walked somewhere. Were you truly present, or was your mind somewhere else? Thinking about work, thinking about problems, thinking about tomorrow, checking your phone, listening to endless noise. Most people walk through beautiful moments without ever seeing them. The sunlight on a building, the sound of birds in the distance, the cool breeze against their skin, the expressions on people's faces, the details of life unfolding around them. All of it passes unnoticed because their attention is trapped somewhere else. The tragedy is not that these moments disappear. The tragedy is that they were never experienced. This is why slowing down matters. Not because slowing down itself is magical, but because slowing down allows awareness to return. And awareness changes everything. When you slow down, you notice opportunities. You notice mistakes before they become disasters. You notice emotions before they control you. You notice patterns that others miss. You notice beauty that others overlook. You begin to see life clearly. And clarity is one of the greatest advantages a person can possess. Most people think success comes from doing more. Often success comes from seeing more. The entrepreneur who notices a hidden opportunity. The leader who notices a problem early. The parent who notices what their child is feeling. The artist who notices details others ignore. The investor who notices a trend before everyone else. Observation creates advantage. Observation creates wisdom. Observation creates success. But observation requires presence. And presence requires slowing down. Imagine driving through a beautiful landscape at incredible speed. You arrive quickly, but you miss everything. Now imagine moving more slowly. You notice the mountains, the rivers, the trees, the changing colors, the details. The journey becomes richer. Life works the same way. Many people are obsessed with arrival. Very few people appreciate the journey. But the journey is where life happens. The journey is where growth happens. The journey is where memories are created. The journey is where meaning is found. If you spend your entire life rushing toward the next achievement, you may reach the destination only to discover that you missed the experience. That is why slowing down is not weakness. It is wisdom. The Japanese phrase often associated with mindful living reflects a deep respect for the present moment. A respect for what is happening right now. Not next week. Not next year. Now. Because now is all you truly possess. Most stress comes from living mentally in the future. Most regret comes from living mentally in the past. Peace comes from living in the present. That is the secret. And slowing down helps you access that secret. Consider how many mistakes are created by rushing. Rushed decisions. Rushed conversations. Rushed reactions. Rushed commitments. People say things they do not mean. Make choices they later regret. Miss opportunities that were directly in front of them. All because they moved too fast to notice. A slower mind often makes better decisions. A calmer mind often sees better solutions. A patient mind often achieves better results. That is why some of the most effective people appear calm under pressure. They are not panicking. They are observing. While everyone else rushes to react, they pause. They notice. They think. And because they think clearly, they act wisely. The goal is not to become passive. The goal is not to eliminate ambition. The goal is to move with intention, to move deliberately, to move consciously. There is a huge difference between being busy and being purposeful. Busy people move constantly. Purposeful people move intentionally. One creates exhaustion. The other creates progress. That is the difference. Walking slower is not really about walking. It is about how you approach life. Do you rush through your days? Or do you actually experience them? Do you react automatically? Or do you observe consciously? Do you move blindly? Or do you move with awareness? These questions matter, because the quality of your awareness determines the quality of your life. You cannot appreciate what you do not notice. You cannot improve what you do not notice. You cannot understand what you do not notice. Everything begins with awareness. That is why one simple practice can be so powerful. Take a walk. No phone. No distractions. No endless stream of information. Just walk. Observe. Listen. Notice. Pay attention to your surroundings. Pay attention to your breathing. Pay attention to your thoughts. Pay attention to the world around you. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. Your mind is used to constant stimulation, constant noise, constant activity. But eventually something changes. Your thoughts slow down. Your stress decreases. Your awareness expands. And suddenly you begin seeing things that were always there. You simply never noticed them before. That is the gift of slowing down. It reveals what speed hides. Remember this phrase, slow down to speed up. Say it again, slow down to speed up. One more time, slow down to speed up. Because the person who sees clearly makes better decisions. The person who makes better decisions creates a better life. And the person who creates a better life is not always the fastest. Often they are simply the most aware. So stop rushing through your days. Stop sprinting through your life. Stop acting as though every moment is an emergency. Take a breath. Observe. Notice. Experience. Because life is happening now. Not later. Now. Walk slower. See more. And discover how much of life has been waiting for your attention all along. Most people are afraid of silence. Not because silence is dangerous. Because silence is revealing. The moment the noise disappears, something uncomfortable happens. You begin hearing your own thoughts. You begin noticing your own emotions. You begin facing parts of yourself that distractions normally hide. That is why so many people fill every moment with noise. Music in the background. Television running constantly. Podcasts during every walk. Phones during every pause. Notifications during every quiet moment. They are surrounded by sound. Not because they need it. Because they fear what silence might reveal. But the Japanese have long understood something powerful. Silence is not empty. Silence is full. Full of clarity. Full of awareness. Full of wisdom. That is the key. What you discover in silence can transform your life. The modern world teaches people to consume constantly. More information. More entertainment. More stimulation. More noise. But wisdom does not come from endless consumption. Wisdom comes from reflection. And reflection requires silence. Think about the greatest decisions of your life. The most important lessons. The deepest realizations. They probably did not arrive while you were scrolling through social media. They probably did not arrive while you were rushing through a crowded day. They arrived during quiet moments. Moments when you finally had space to think. Space to reflect. Space to listen. That is what silence provides. Space. And space is becoming one of the rarest resources in the modern world. Many people are overwhelmed not because they have too many problems. They are overwhelmed because they never give themselves time to process those problems. Every day they accumulate thoughts, concerns, questions, frustrations, but they never stop long enough to examine them. So the mental clutter grows, and grows, and grows, until eventually they feel exhausted without understanding why. Silence clears the mind. Just as cleaning a room creates order, silence creates mental order. It allows your thoughts to settle. It allows your emotions to become visible. It allows you to understand yourself more deeply. And self-understanding is the foundation of growth. You cannot improve what you refuse to examine. You cannot solve problems you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot become stronger while avoiding yourself. That is why silence matters. It forces honesty, and honesty creates transformation. Many Japanese traditions are influenced by Zen philosophy. Zen places enormous value on stillness, observation, presence, awareness, not because these qualities are mystical, because they are practical. A calm mind sees clearly. A noisy mind sees confusion. Imagine a glass of muddy water. If you keep shaking it, the water remains cloudy. You cannot see through it. But if you set it down and allow it to become still, the mud slowly settles. The water becomes clear. Your mind works exactly the same way. Constant stimulation keeps your thoughts disturbed. Constant activity keeps your emotions unsettled. But silence allows everything to settle. And when your mind settles, clarity emerges. Suddenly you understand things that seemed confusing. Solutions appear. Insights appear. Perspective appears. Not because you forced them, because you finally created space for them. That is the power of silence. Many people believe they need more answers. Often what they really need is more quiet, because the answers are already inside them, buried beneath noise, buried beneath distractions, buried beneath endless activity. Silence helps uncover them. Think about how often you avoid being alone with your thoughts. Many people reach for their phones the moment they feel bored, the moment they feel uncomfortable, the moment they encounter stillness. Why? Because stillness feels unfamiliar. But growth often lives in unfamiliar places. The things you avoid may contain the lessons you need most. That uncomfortable silence, that difficult reflection, that honest conversation with yourself. Those moments are where growth begins. Not because they are pleasant, because they are truthful. And truth is powerful. Silence also strengthens emotional control. Most people react impulsively because they never create space between feeling and action. They feel anger. They react. They feel fear. They retreat. They feel stress. They panic. Everything becomes automatic. Everything becomes reactive. But silence teaches a different response. Silence teaches observation. Instead of immediately reacting, you learn to notice. You notice the emotion. You observe it. You understand it. And because you understand it, you gain power over it. That is emotional maturity. Not the absence of emotions. The ability to observe them without being controlled by them. The ability to sit with them. The ability to remain calm while they pass. Silence develops this skill. Little by little. Day by day. Moment by moment. This is why many successful leaders value solitude. Not because they dislike people. Because they understand the importance of reflection. The quality of your decisions depends on the quality of your thinking. And the quality of your thinking depends on the quality of your attention. Silence improves attention. Silence improves thinking. Silence improves decisions. Everything is connected. Yet most people never experience enough silence to discover its benefits. They remain trapped in constant stimulation. Always connected. Always consuming, always distracted, and because of that, they lose contact with themselves. But you do not have to live that way. You can choose something different. You can choose stillness. You can choose reflection. You can choose silence. Start small. 5 minutes. Just 5. No phone. No music. No television. No distractions. Simply sit. Observe your thoughts. Observe your breathing. Observe what arises. Do not judge. Do not fight. Do not force anything. Just notice. At first, your mind may resist. It may feel restless, impatient, uncomfortable. That is normal. You are training a skill, and every skill requires practice. Eventually, something changes. The restlessness begins to fade. the noise begins to settle. And beneath all that noise, you discover something remarkable. You discover yourself, the version of you that exists beneath distractions, the version of you that knows what matters, the version of you that sees clearly, the version of you that can guide your life wisely. That discovery is priceless. Remember this phrase, silence teaches. Say it again, silence teaches. One more time, silence teaches. Because every lesson does not arrive through noise. Every answer does not arrive through information. Some lessons arrive through stillness. Some answers arrive through reflection. Some wisdom arrives through silence. And the people who learn to sit with silence gain access to something rare. Clarity, peace, self-awareness. And in a noisy world, those qualities become extraordinary advantages. So stop running from silence. Stop filling every empty moment. Stop fearing stillness. Instead, embrace it. Listen, observe, reflect, learn. Because silence is not empty. Silence is where wisdom speaks. And if you learn to sit with it long enough, it may teach you everything you need to know. Most people do not fail because they lack talent. They fail because they stop. They start with excitement. They start with energy. They start with ambition. But somewhere along the way they quit. The book remains unfinished. The project remains incomplete. The goal remains unrealized. The dream remains a dream. Not because it was impossible, because they stopped before the work was done. That is one of the most expensive habits a person can develop. The habit of starting without finishing, because every unfinished task carries a hidden cost. A cost most people never see. Every incomplete project takes up mental space. Every abandoned goal weakens confidence. Every broken commitment teaches your mind a dangerous lesson. It is okay to quit, and the more often you repeat that lesson, the stronger it becomes. That is the key. You do not build character when you start. You build character when you finish. Anyone can begin when motivation is high. Anyone can feel excited during the first few days. Anyone can dream about success, but very few people continue when the excitement disappears. Very few people continue when progress slows down. Very few people continue when the work becomes repetitive. That is where the difference is made. Not at the beginning, in the middle, when nobody is watching, when motivation fades, when discipline becomes necessary. The Japanese have long respected dedication and mastery. A craftsman may spend decades refining a single skill. Not weeks, not months, decades. Why? Because mastery requires commitment. Mastery requires patience. Mastery requires completion. A person who constantly jumps from one thing to another rarely becomes exceptional at anything. They remain trapped in a cycle of beginnings, always starting, never finishing, always planning, never completing, always dreaming, never building, and eventually, frustration takes over, because unfinished effort never produces finished results. Imagine planting a seed. You water it for a few days, then stop, then plant another seed, then stop, then another, then another. Years pass. Nothing grows. Not because the seeds were bad, because you never stayed long enough to see the harvest. Life works the same way. Most success stories are simply stories of persistence. People stayed with the process longer than others. They continued after the excitement ended. They continued after setbacks. They continued after failure. And because they continued, they eventually succeeded. That is why finishing matters. Finishing builds trust in yourself. Every time you complete something, your mind receives evidence. Evidence that you follow through. Evidence that your word means something. Evidence that you can be relied upon, not just by others, by yourself. Self-trust is one of the most valuable assets you can possess. Without it, every goal feels uncertain. Every promise feels weak. Every challenge feels overwhelming. But with self-trust, everything changes. You begin believing in your ability to execute. You begin believing in your ability to endure. You begin believing in your ability to finish. And belief influences behavior. The more you trust yourself, the more confidently you act. The more confidently you act, the more progress you make. The more progress you make, the stronger your confidence becomes. It becomes a powerful cycle. A cycle built through completion. Most people underestimate the emotional weight of unfinished tasks. Have you ever noticed how incomplete work lingers in your mind? A task you keep postponing. A conversation you keep avoiding. A project you keep delaying. Even when you are not actively thinking about it, part of your attention remains attached to it. It drains energy, creates stress, creates guilt. That is why finishing feels so liberating. Completion creates freedom. Completion creates clarity. Completion creates momentum. Every finished task removes mental clutter. Every finished task restores energy. Every finished task strengthens discipline. This is why successful people often focus less on perfection and more on completion. Perfection delays. Completion progresses. Perfection waits. Completion acts. Perfection creates hesitation. Completion creates results. Remember the lesson from Wabi-Sabi. Done beats perfect. A completed project that is imperfect has value. What projects remain incomplete? Choose one. Just one. Not 10. Not 20. One. And finish it. Finish the book. Finish the course. Finish the conversation. Finish the task. Finish what you started. Because completion creates momentum. And momentum creates confidence. Once you finish one thing, finishing the next thing becomes easier. Then easier again. Then easier again. Little by little, you become someone who follows through. Someone who completes. Someone who finishes. And that identity becomes powerful. People begin trusting you. More importantly, you begin trusting yourself. Remember this phrase, finish the job. Say it again. Finish the job. One more time. Finish the job. Because life rewards those who complete what they begin. Not those who constantly start over. Not those who endlessly prepare. Not those who endlessly dream. Those who finish. Those who endure. Those who follow through. The difference between an average life and an extraordinary life is often much smaller than people imagine. Sometimes it is simply the decision to keep going when others stop, to continue when others quit, to finish when others abandon the process. So make that decision. Stay with the work. Stay with the process. Stay with the goal. And finish what you start. Because every finished task strengthens the person you are becoming. And the person you are becoming is capable of far more than you realize. Finish the job. No excuses. No delays. No quitting. Finish the job.
Now you understand the secret. Transformation is not dramatic. Transformation is daily. It is the small improvement nobody notices. The bed you make. The room you clean. The time you respect. The focus you protect. The gratitude you practice. The silence you embrace. The task you finish. These habits seem small. But small actions repeated long enough become character. Character becomes identity. Identity becomes destiny. You do not need more motivation. You need more consistency. You do not need a perfect plan. You need today's action. Remember this. Your life changes the moment your habits change. Not next year. Not next month. Today. So here is your challenge. Choose one Japanese habit from this audiobook. Just one. Practice it every day for the next 30 days. No excuses. No negotiation. No waiting. Because the future you want is hidden inside the small actions you repeat. And that future begins now.